Welcome back to Follow the Money. What did the Obama administration do with $500 million in grants for green training jobs? The program only put 8,000 people to work. Now the whole thing's under investigation by Congressman Darrell Issa, who joins me now. Thank you for joining us, Congressman.
Well, thank you, and thanks for covering this classic example. We look at waste, fraud, and abuse, and this qualifies as waste for the American people by any standard.
Congressman, $500 million, and it looks like the program is designed to train 124,000, almost 125,000 people, but it looks like 8,000 jobs placed. But, sir, you have some different numbers, right?
Well, we looked at sustained jobs lasting more than a year, and that drops it down to just over 1,000. In other words, 1 to 2% of their own goal. And remember, they set the goals. They said that what they would achieve. They even set the rules that allowed for somebody driving a diesel bus to be considered a green job. And we got that directly with Secretary Hilda Solis. So they set the rules, they set the parameters, they make it as favorable as possible, and they still manage to come up with bupkis, really, just about 0 jobs. And don't get me wrong, 1,000 jobs, 1,300 jobs, we think it's important, but for $500 million, it clearly missed the target. We could have done better by throwing the money out a window.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit, though. Now, one of the examples that you use, or at least in the write-up that I read, a company called Pathstone promised to train 660 people. Therefore, they got an $8 million grant, sir, and they've only trained 25 people so far. Now, we know there's a lot of problems in the Energy Department. I've called Stephen Chu the most incompetent secretary in the history of energy secretaries. However, is this criminal? Is this negligence? Is this fraud? Are we, does this go into the, illegal area of the law?
Well, it's certainly an example of a combination. It's cronyism, it's ineptness, and it's a lack of accountability. In some cases, we can look at the specific monies going to unions and other groups, even if they had no record of training, of being able to demonstrate they could do it. In other cases, it simply went to sort of close friends of the president. But in all cases, every single organization so dramatically underachieved that they should have stopped, halted the spending early on, and found ways to reset it. Remember, most often when people want to do work with the government, they're willing to agree to terms, such as if we don't produce X amount of terms, we're going to get money taken back and the like. None of that was in the contract. So people were paid, they dispersed the money, quite frankly, sometimes to sort of friends of the president, and now the money's gone, and we have virtually no jobs to show for it.
Chairman, look, ineptness, I'm using your terms here, ineptness, cronyism, and close friends isn't necessarily illegal. Is it illegal for me to work for one of these companies and promise the administration that I was going to train a certain amount of people, take the money, and then not do the work? That sounds at least a little fishy. It sounds like fraud to me.
Well, it's one of the reasons we're continuing to investigate, to see how many companies cross the line by simply not doing the work, not even sort of doing the work. But, quite frankly, if they dispense the money in a loose way to people who basically were never going to get a job, we may not be able to prove it. And that's one of the problems with stimulus. Stimulus was really about nearly $1 trillion worth of walking around money for the president. There were very few safeguards in it, and this president didn't add very many safeguards. The only thing I can say that I'm very proud about with the stimulus is we do have good transparency to where the money went, and as we follow the money, we believe we're going to find examples where the money was not properly spent, and we may be able to reclaim some for the government if this administration's interested.
Sir, you just cited the name of our show, Follow the Money, but here, the question I have here, should, with Solyndra, with Beacon Energy, with Ener1, with this $500 million waste, should the Energy Secretary step down, or at least at the end of this first term, maybe say, I've had enough, guys, maybe time for me to go?
Well, Tim Geithner and Secretary Hillary Clinton both have said they're not returning. And quite frankly, we're hoping that there'll be a new choice at Energy if there's a second term. But my job is not to worry about this cabinet or a cabinet of some successor. My job is to deal with the fact that the federal bureaucracy allows this to happen, that Congress has allowed us to lose control. This president demanded and got $1 trillion in earmark authority, and he's used it haphazardly. To a great extent, I blame ourselves. We should never again give any president the the loose ability to walk around with this kind of money and give it to his political friends or to use it for loan guarantees that are inappropriate. In the case of the Secretary, to be more specific, Secretary Chu actually has his signature on a loan that was inappropriate on its face. The loan application for Blue Mountain in Senator Reed's home state very clearly showed that the money was not going to create jobs, but in fact to pay back a parent company a previous loan. So I do see some cases in which the Secretary couldn't seem to read common English and shouldn't return.
Very good, sir. Appreciate having you on the show, and also appreciate having you in D.C. watching over some of these very important issues, watching over our money.
Keep it up.
Congressman Issa, thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it out to the panel on this.